You know that moment when you're watching gameplay of a new game and halfway through the clip you realize you're not even analyzing it anymore. You're not checking features or thinking about systems, you're just watching, letting it play out. Maybe even replaying the clip once or twice without really meaning to. That's the feeling Crimson Desert keeps giving me. Not because it looks perfect, not because it's promising something revolutionary, but because there is this constant sense that the game is trying, like really trying, to make every moment land. To make things feel big, physical, dramatic, and just a little out of control in a way that's exciting instead of frustrating. And once you notice that intention, you start seeing it everywhere. One of the first things that stands out about Crimson Desert is how quickly it makes an impression. A lot of open world games ease you in, they give you space to warm up, learn the rules, settle into the rhythm. Crimson Desert doesn't really do that, it throws motion, weight and chaos at you almost immediately. Characters don't move like they're locked in. When they run, fight, fall or get hit, there's an imbalance in their movement. Enemies don't just absorb damage and reset. They stumble, collide with each other, slide down terrain or get thrown into spaces you didn't expect the fight to move into. What's important here is that none of this feels staged. It feels like the system's interacting in real time, sometimes cleanly, sometimes messily, but always in a way that feels physical. Like the game is okay with the things getting a little ugly if it means the moment feels real. That's why Crimson Desert combat works so well. You don't need context, you don't need someone explaining what's happening. You can drop in the middle of a fight and understand what's exciting about it within seconds. That same philosophy carries over into the world itself. Yes, the world of Pival is massive, but scale isn't the impressive part anymore. What stands out is how much the world seems to push back when you move through it. Terrain isn't just decoration, slopes affect fights, weather changes the mood of entire encounters. Objects feel like they exist in the same physical space as you, not just copy-pasted onto it. You're not just traveling across a map, you're constantly being pushed into interactions. Even slower activities like fishing or cooking don't feel like menu-driven distractions. They feel like pauses the game allows itself. Moments where things calm down so the next spike of intensity actually matters. That contrast is doing a lot of work here, whether you notice it or not. And this is where I want to slow down for a second, because it's easy to focus only on the chaos. Crimson Desert doesn't feel like it's constantly screaming for your attention. Between fights, there are also stretches where the world just exists. Long rides, open landscapes, wind, water, distant movement. Moments where nothing dramatic is happening, and that's the point. Those quieter stretches give the game room to breathe. They make the explosive moments feel earned instead of exhausting. It's a sign of restraint, and restraint is something a lot of ambitious games struggle with. The game doesn't just know how to impress you, it knows when to step back. Combat is where all of this really comes together. Crimson Desert's combat isn't trying to be perfectly clean or perfectly balanced in the way some modern action RPGs are. It's clearly built around impact first, around making hits feel heavy, reactions feel exaggerated, and momentum feel dangerous. When a fight goes well, it doesn't feel like you executed a flawless rotation. It feels like you took control of a situation that could have gone wrong at any moment. Enemies don't politely line up, they get in each other's way, they get launched, they get knocked over, or dragged into the parts of the environment. That kind of mess is hard to fake. A lot of this works because the game understands how readable chaos needs to be. Even when everything is going wrong, you can still tell what's happening. Enemy reactions are big and clear, movement is exaggerated in a way that communicates force and direction. You don't need a cluttered UI to understand the flow of a fight. That's a huge reason why the game is so watchable. It's not just fun to play, it's fun to observe. The game does a lot of the visual storytelling for you, which makes every encounter feel like a highlight waiting to happen. It's very obvious that this is a game built with movement, cameras and spectators in mind, even if no one says that out loud. Under the hood, a lot of this comes down to the tech, but what matters isn't the engine name. What matters is how natural everything feels when it's in motion. Lightning shifts as you move through spaces, weather changes the feel of entire areas, water behaves the way you expect it to, objects react instead of ignoring you. When something breaks or falls or slides, it feels like the results of physics, not a hidden trigger. All of this does one very important thing. It makes your brain stop questioning the world. When a game behaves the way you expect it to, you stop thinking about how it works and start thinking about what's happening. And that's when moments stick. What really surprised me is how cinematic the game feels without constantly taking control away from you. So many games chase cinematic moments by locking the camera or cutting to scripted sequences. Crimson Desert trusts its systems more than that. The camera adjusts dynamically, animations flow into each other, combat frames itself naturally without interrupting gameplay. You don't feel like the game is saying, watch this cool thing. It feels more like, do your thing and we will make it look good. That trust changes how the game feels to play. This is also where the hype starts to make sense. People aren't excited about Crimson Desert because of a checklist of features. They're excited because the game communicates confidence. Every new clip reinforces the same idea. This is a game comfortable with what it is. What's interesting is that this confidence feels earned over time. Crimson Desert hasn't always looked this clear in its identity. Earlier on, it felt like a lot of ideas pulling in different directions. Now those ideas feel focused and refined, like the game finally knows what it wants to emphasize. Another thing that keeps standing out is how much the game seems to reward bold players. Crimson Desert doesn't feel like it wants you to play carefully. It wants you to jump in, try things, to trust that if you do something slightly reckless, the systems will support you instead of collapsing. When a game encourages that kind of behavior, it builds confidence in the player. And when that expression turns into something dramatic on screen, the game reinforces the feeling that it's working with you, not against you. That feedback loop is powerful, and it's a big reason the combat feels so satisfying to watch and play. Now, none of this means Crimson Desert is going to be perfect. It probably won't be. But perfection isn't what people are responding to here. They're responding to identity and confidence. To a game that's willing to be intense, messy, loud, and sometimes overwhelming if that's what it takes to create memorable moments. In a space where so many open world games feel too safe, that willingness to stand out matters. And that's really what I mean when I say Crimson Desert feels designed to impress you. Not in a shallow way, not in a marketing way, but in a moment-to-moment way. A way that respects your attention and rewards it with experiences that feel personal because they happen through play. If this all comes together the way it looks like it might, Crimson Desert won't just be something people finish and move on from. It'll be the kind of game people form opinions around, the kind of game people argue about, share clips from, and bring up years later when someone asks what surprised them the most. And honestly, that's the kind of impression that lasts.